So what's being expressed here is that this is deep sleep. This is a suggestion. This is the uncreated, the unknowable, the eternal death of all knowing, the undoing, the infinite resting in peace, the zero desiring, the freedom in hopelessness, the collapse of history, the dissolving of the future, the end of judgment. In deep sleep, there is the absence of you. There are no others. There is no time. There's no continuity, no consequences. The end of the imagined karmic cycle, no preparations for the afterlife, no cycles of life and death. Deep sleep is the peace that is indistinguishable, the love without conditions, the absolute freedom of nothing. In deep sleep, there is no doing. There are really no choices, no possessions. The inexplicable innocence. In deep sleep, there is no witnessing, there's no awareness, no abiding, no consciousness, no absolute, there's no true nature, there's no intelligence. There are no words. It's thoughtless, it's nameless, sourcelessness. The openness, the ultimate relaxation. Although these words are just trying to attempt to express this unknowable nothing, when there are no thoughts, it's deep sleep. Someone actually emailed me earlier a quote from, I don't usually do quotes, but I like this one. It's from, sorry, I can't read it. I have to put on my real glasses just a moment, okay? That glasses doesn't have a lens, sorry. So this is from a physicist, Erwin Schrödinger. He says, what we observe as material bodies and forces are nothing but shapes and variations in the structure of space. Particles are just appearances. Or Shakumen in German, I guess. The world is given only once, not one existing and not one perceived. Subject and object are only one. The barrier between them cannot be said to have broken down as a result of recent experience in the physical sciences, for this barrier does not exist. Just a second, sorry. This one doesn't have any glare, that's why I use it. So what's being expressed is that this is deep sleep, and the particles are like the dreams. The dream of knowing, the dream of choice, the dream of others, the dream of me, the dream of desires, the dream of intelligence, the dream of time. They don't really exist. Since there's no barrier, deep sleep and dream are the same. In the awakeness, or as you can say, there's really no difference, but I'm just trying to create a story here. In this awakeness, there's this space and there's these particles that seem to appear like form, solidity, ideas, whatever seems to appear, passion, sadness, others, subject, object. They're not really in existence as well. They're just appearances. There's really no barrier. There's no separation in anything. So seemingly there's this wanting for this deep sleep, the relaxation, the absence. But what seems to be appearing is this simultaneous appearance of what seems to be dream and deep sleep, or as we can say it, in this awakeness, this emptiness or nothingness with everythingness. In that appearance, there is this seemingly subject-object, choices, attainment, here or there, others, but they're just particles. They're just appearances. They're really nothing. And it's quite obvious that that seems to be what's happening, but it's not quite obvious when it's seen through a perspective, when it's seen, when it's understood, when it is trying to be captured. Because what seems to be understood in a dualistic mindset, although there's no mind, is that there is a here and there, that I am actually moving through time and space. It's like the particle is thinking, the particle is the ideas, in a thoughtless, in a empty space. So all of this wanting, all of this desiring are just appearances. They seem completely real. It's kind of like deep sleep, and there's this dream of wanting, this dream of desires, this dream of separation. And it feels absolutely real, but they're all appearances. And it's quite fascinating, although science or quantum physics is just another story, but science seems to be catching up to what is being expressed here, or trying to hint at it at least. And with that being said, so everything is deep sleep. Everything is nothing. Everything is empty. In these appearances of wanting to get to peacefulness, wanting to get to problems, or getting rid of problems, or acquiring this or attaining this, are just particles appearing in space. Appearances appearing in deep sleep. So in there's deep sleep and there's no separation, there's really no separation between deep sleep and dreaming. And since there's no one dreaming, this is all a dream and deep sleep apparently occurring simultaneously and spontaneously. When it's seen that there's no one, there's almost like a lucidity to this dreaming. There's almost a lucidity seeing that this is also deep sleep, and this is also appearances of what seems to be happening, like time, speaking, hearing, holding, solidity, all of this apparent suggestions in timelessness. And it's quite fascinating that it's quite obvious, but it's not obvious when it's thought about. It's not obvious when it's tried to be understood. But the obviousness does not require a thinker, because there's no thinker. The obviousness does not require an understanding, because who's to understand? It can never even be experienced, because there's no experiencer. It's the immediacy, it's the directness of what's being spoken about here, that it's all deep sleep. And disappearances, there seems to be particles or dream suggesting that there is a subject and object, that there is a you and me, that there's something that is happening, when it's all nothing. So if it's all deep sleep and if it's all dreaming, there's no one that needs to wake up, because there's no one at all. Because the idea of waking up is just another appearance. The idea of getting here, or getting to a state of deep sleep or peacefulness or liberation or freedom, is already forever being presented. It never leaves. It's always available. It's already free. It's already completed. So the particles and the noise are the distortion that keeps on appearing and trying to get what's already here, what's already this, what's already free, what's already infinitely appearing, are just ideas that seems to come in and out. Like in a dream. Sometimes in a dream there is this nightmare. Sometimes it's blissful. It's this ever changing. It's like chaos sometimes in a sea of deep sleep. Like nightmare sometimes in a sea of deep sleep. But since there's no barrier, there's no here or there, all of these appearance, chaos and peacefulness are the same. So if you'd like to have a chat about anything at all, you can raise your hand, or you can simply just unmute yourself. David. Hey, David.
Oh, hi there.
Hi.
So you said that it's always available.
Yes.
I'm not entirely convinced that that's the case. I'll give you an example. Let's say we all live on a planet, and on that planet, all there is the color green. There aren't any other colors. everything. So that paradigm is green. And everything, and these green people are walking about not aware that there are other colors on other planets.
Yeah.
And you're here from the planet Red saying, listen, the color red exists and it's always available. But for us, we can only see the color red in green.
Yeah.
You see, so that's the predicament, isn't it? So basically, I'm raising issue with you when you say that it's always available. That's something Tony Parson always said.
Yes.
It's not, is it? Is it always available? He says it's always inviting. It's always inviting you.
Yeah. It's
but it's
always.
Not, it's actually. It's not. It's saying you don't exist, so you can't be invited.
Yeah.
There's nothing available for you here.
That's right. So in thoughtlessness, when there are no thoughts, there's always this silence that's always available. So even when there's thoughts, there's also this silence. So what's always available is this silence, is this infiniteness, that all of these seeming distractions like color red or, difference between here and there, duality, as I said, it's like the particles. Kind of like that quote said, there's no barrier. There is no subject object. So in this infiniteness, on this nothingness, or in this emptiness or deep sleep, as I was mentioning, there's a dream of attaining this. So when that dream is when the thoughts or the dream or the particles or the appearances are basically absent, it's always here. Even when the thoughts or particles or choice is there, it's always present. So that's what's being described as always available. Not available for anyone because there's not anyone, but it's always forever. And it never ever leaves. And that's what seems to be longed for, is that this apparent, that's why when it's said that what seems to be sought seems to be hidden because it appears in everything. So this silence or this peacefulness or in this infiniteness appears even in chaos or in anarchy or even in choices or even the idea that I am here. So everything that appears, chaos, thought of red or green or yellow, is also empty because it's appearing in this space. Since there is no subject object, there's no differences, there's no boundaries, everything that seems to appear is sameness, wholeness. But the illusion of this, noise in silence is it comes in and out. It comes in and out. That's the apparition, which is really nothing. It's always this vast emptiness.
So it's the underlying truth, if you will.
You can say that. There's no truth, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but this
no truth
this unknowableness, you know what I'm saying? The unknowable
like many
nothing.
other things is just one side of a coin, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
We know there's never an instance where there's only one side of a coin presented.
Yeah, but it's seemingly, you know what I'm saying? For example, if there is, if there's physical pain or something, right? That appearance is so strong, you know what I'm saying, that it's everything. But what's not seen is that for that to appear, there's also this peacefulness behind it, this emptiness, this space for anything to appear. But that appearance is not separate from the space. It's also space, or it's also any form that appears in the formlessness. So form is also formless. So there's I sometimes feel that, I guess it depends on how it's heard and how it's interpreted. Yeah.
But I sometimes feel that this message, in a way, is kind of denying the separate reality, because for the separate reality, that for that bubble and anything that exists within that bubble, even though you could say that the underlying truth is that there is no separation, but for the paradigm that is that bubble, that is the truth.
Yeah,
and I sometimes feel that this message kind of denies that truth. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds that way, but I beg to differ.
Yeah.
So what's being expressed is whatever is appearing, the chaos, since it's not separate, is fully accepted. It's not rejected. For example, if there's sadness that's happening, there's sadness happening, it's not like, oh, there's no sadness. But there's an underlying, as you can like saying, peacefulness behind that. It's like lucid dreaming, right?
Yeah.
When there's always sleeping or deep sleep, as we whatever appears in the, when there's a lucid dreaming apparently happening, the character knows that it's just dreaming. That there's no solidity to it, that there's no realness to it,
Mm.
that it's both real and unreal appearing as whatever it is, right? So there is this big misconception about this communication that it is a denial, because you see a lot of the speakers joyful and jolly speaking about this, Tony Parsons, um, and um, and there's this denial, for example, of whatever. It's just speaking from a non-dualistic, you know what I'm saying, voice, that there's nothing
Mm.
separate.
Yeah.
But this apparent, this parent character, if anger happens, and that's kind of like, I don't know if you've heard the Sam Harris and the Jim Newman interview, that they were just basically it's like two
Yeah,
different
I watched it.
wrestling the paradox or
Yeah,
something.
it's like
um
oil and water.
all in water, because the other one, although it purports or kind of like suggests that that there's meditation and everything, it really sounds really peaceful, right? It sounds really inviting, and it talks about enlightenment as a preferred state of this silence and purity, and that when Jim started talking about anger might arise in a traffic jam, that's actually radical acceptance. It's not
Mm.
like, okay,
Yeah.
there's no one angry and everything. And someone in spirituality or in awareness or something, or kind of like in the power of now or all that kind of stuff, does not understand that,
Mm.
because it has a preference. So the actual suggestion that this radical non-duality is denial actually is actually a misnomer, because I see I thought spirituality and
Mm.
consciousness and awareness and all that kind of stuff, that was denial for me,
Mm.
right? When I was a spiritual teacher, although I'm saying being vulnerable is okay now, my perception of it was that when there was sadness, I had to put up this front, right, of whatever. I could not talk about what's really going on. It could be a divorce or whatever that's happening, right? And I had to hide that, and I had to put on a face. In this communication, although there's a lot of smiling here and everything like that, it talks about the sorrows. You know what I'm saying? There's just no separation. So whatever
Yeah.
appears, it could be sadness or it could be irritation. Sometimes when there is something that is irritating, it's not brushed away as something that is just
Mm.
an appearance. Although
But
it's an
yeah.
appearance, there is no one that's choosing
Mm.
to react or not.
But it does say that it's not real, though, and it's real for some people,
It's
isn't
it's
it?
I'll
For the
suggest
people who
I'll
believe it to
suggest
be real.
yeah, I'll suggest, I always say this, it's both unreal and real. It's
Yeah.
unreal,
Fair
but it
enough.
feels completely
Yeah.
real. For example,
Yeah.
when you're dreaming at night, you
Mm.
could be having a nightmare and you wake up and you're quite perplexed by it. You're sweating, you absolutely thought that was real, and there's this diminishing idea that something that happened was absolutely real. It's kind of like, oh, it was just a dream. So what's being suggested here is that seeing when it's deep sleep and a nightmare happening or a dream happening, there's this lucidity or there's an openness to it. There's kind of like, okay, I'm saying, it's not held on into kind of like made into another story or another thing or expanded
Mm.
into
Mm.
this narrative that I am having these problems or I have these dreams. It's just seen as a happening, kind of like in a dream. So
Yeah.
that's what is being suggested, that there's a suspension, not just a suspension, but a collapse of all belief system. So a belief system, for example, that there is separation, that there is time, is vanished. In that apparent instance, when it's seen that there's never been anyone that has any of this.
Okay. Good stuff. Thanks very
All
much for
right,
that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Corey?
Hi, Emerson.
Oh, hi,
Hi.
Corey.
Hello
Sorry, I
there.
don't see the whole screen. I just saw that mic got unmuted. So if for some,
Okay.
just say hi, Emerson.
Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah.
How are you,
No,
Corey?
yeah, I'm okay. I'm quite good. Thank you at the moment. Yeah, just on that subject, like the peace, the nothingness beyond of everything you were just talking about. And I'm just thinking, so when there's nobody there, like
Mm-hmm.
you,
Yeah.
so when when there is somebody there and they're going, a parent, a person, they're going through a lot of trauma and difficulty, how different is it, the experience? Oh, because there's no experience for. I was going
No,
to say
yeah,
nobody there.
yeah,
Like when you were ill.
yeah.
How do you don't quite know how to word it, but do you experience that
I have
because
actually a perfect story for that, you know, with trauma and everything. And it's I've said this many times, so I'm sorry if it's being repeated again. Um, Back last summer, there was an apparent. This is just a story, you know, since there's no time. I'm just telling a storytelling here. There was an apparent happening where I came out of the restaurant during COVID time, and I got beat up. Basically, it was due to whatever. You know what I'm saying? Some people were trying to
yeah,
get in the restaurant, and now
yeah,
fast forward, it was really surprising that there was anger, kind of like, what the hell happened? And then the next day, it was nothing. I was walking San Miguel and I was just going up, you know, and then the victim services kept on calling me to see if I needed some counseling. Since there was nothing, there was the immediacy. And then fast forward when I went back to the restaurant, there was this apparent ominous feeling, kind of like a soundtrack in a movie, and I was like, oh, that's what it is. But it was not rejected. It was just this apparent, you know, apparition or suggestion. So an answer to that question is that, you know, there's an immediacy, a directness to what's happening. So there could be a reaction or no reaction to it, but it's not held on to. Since there's no one here, there's no neurosis, or there's no kind of like posting on Facebook about what happened. If that happens, so that's all right too. You know what I'm saying? For or making it into a big thing because it's really nothing. Yeah. But
right,
but if there is, you know, if anyone is listening to this, you know what I'm saying, as a precaution, this communication, if there's someone that has trauma, what happens with counseling or trauma therapy is also what's happening. There's nothing wrong or right about that. It's not a suggestion not to do any of that, because anything that arises is what is, including trauma healing or something. But this communication, what it basically saying is that whatever arises is what is.
right.
Yeah.
Think I think I think I think I'm there more or less. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So basically, okay, the difference would be that it's just all the emotions. It's still felt,
It is.
probably.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
still felt, but because there's no history, it's
Yeah.
not charged. Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no contraction, right? It's openness. There's just this complete openness to whatever arises, right? And it could be sadness, you know, or it could be whatever. But in the apparent instance in this character, there was just this openness to it. So there was really nothing. And when the apparent, you know, the sensations of you know of history came, it was just seen as an appearance. It was not held onto as, you know, oh, poor me or whatever, or looking behind my back or anything like that. Because it's like, kind of like, I like using this dream analogy, right? It's kind of like in a dream. You can have a really horrific nightmare, but when you wake up, although no one wakes up, everything that seemed to happen in that horrific nightmare is seen as not really have happened. It's empty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And so when somebody has a dream,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and um, and that dream, if they're going through, oh, it's just something happened to me about
Yeah.
dream, and I'm just thinking it's probably just a story, but I was going through some years ago a very difficult challenge in my life,
Yeah.
losing somebody, and a child, and I had a dream, and the dream was so real,
Oh, yeah.
and it came in a picture form.
Mm.
And a friend just said to me, "What does that dream mean?" It was like Daddy Longlegs, insects tumbling out of a wardrobe. The doors
Mm-mm.
flew open, all these insects flew out.
Yeah.
And my friend said to me, "Corrie, what do these insects mean to you?" And I
Mm.
said, "They're creepy crawlies." And they're like, this is just a story, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
It's not probably relevant, but it was just amazing. As soon as I saw they were creepy crawlies, my friend said, "What do creepy crawlies mean to you?"
Yeah.
I knew the answer to what I had to do, and I had to face the biggest fear of my life. It's losing a child to live the other
Oh,
side of the world with someone I couldn't tolerate to be near. And I knew I'd got to speak up and face that, knowing that I could lose her because she was in love with this guy. So, that dream, it was absolutely amazing. And I walked out the house after speaking to both of them, my honesty, how I felt. And it was like I was on cloud cuckoo land. It was like just drifted, the light carried me down. I couldn't lower my head to get in the car. I had to dance
yeah.
like down the. So that was just a dream. But how does that happen? Because it's so obvious what it was telling me.
Yeah, there is actually really, it's all just this space or this emptiness, and anything, any appearance like meaning, or I used to, when I used to dream, I used to have a dream book or Google it, what that dream meant, right? So it's an appearance, thinking of another appearance, which is just another appearance, which is just another I know that it seems really meaningful, and I don't want to kind of like burst the bubble or anything like that here, but what's seen is that any appearance can only come up with appearances, or an illusion can only come up with an illusion. So everything the illusion ponders or conjures up is going to be an illusion. The illusion can't get out the illusion, and it only functions in illusion. So a dream will just dream of another dream, and it just basically functions in dream. It doesn't have any meaning or purpose. And it's hard to say that, what I'm saying, especially with emotions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's also liberating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And even though there's no future and the dream's pointing to something in the future, that's
what I mean. That the dream is just coming up with another dream. It's dreaming of another dream about the future that does not exist.
Yes.
So the whole shebang does not exist. Yeah.
It's bloody mind-boggling, really. Really. Yeah. So mind-boggling.
It is, and that's what's difficult about this communication, because it's so brutally honest that it will express that. It's not going to coddle, you know what I'm saying, and say, well, that means this and that, and maybe it just goes to the jugular that it's really nothing. And it's hard sometimes to hear that, but that's what's being expressed here, is that it's really confronting this communication, because it sheds a light that there's never been anything. And it's also liberating when there's an apparent, release from that recurring dream. Because what's being expressed here is like a recurring dream. It's kind of like, okay, it's just a dream. It doesn't have any significance, because any dreams are just dreams or just appearances, kind of like that quote, appearing in space.
And that's also nothingness beyond that anyway, like you were just talking about. Yeah. So that really answers it, doesn't it? Yeah.
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 Yeah. I used to, when I was seeking, I used to put meaning in everything. I used to put in synchronicities, signs, and I was quite neurotic. I would see 11:11, on the clock. I'm like, this is meaning. I have to do something, or anything, or if somebody had, I'm like, oh, this is a deja vu or something. There's something, or everything that because the dream keep on dreaming to keep the dream that this is reality, that this is really happening. The illusion will keep on supporting the illusion that this is real. So even those synchronicities or ideas or dreams or signs, I took everything, or superstitions or ideas about, whatever that appears, are just really dust in space. It doesn't really matter. It's just particles. It's just dreams in deep sleep.
Thank you.
Thank you. We can talk more about it if you like later. Hi, Shelley.
Hey,
hello. Hi.
Hi, thank you for doing this. This is so great.
Oh, thank you.
So I just have to say, yesterday in your, I think it was, well, it doesn't really matter if it was your first session or your second.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. Something you said, I can't remember what it was. It just really like hit home when you said that really emptiness, everything, you can't have anything happening without emptiness.
That's right. Yeah.
Like emptiness comes first. It's the blanket of everything.
Yes.
And it's nothing.
It's nothing. Yeah.
And within that emptiness, everything happens, but it's just happening inside that emptiness. And I don't know how you said it, but it was like, whoa, that's so crazy.
It is. It is. It's illogical, isn't it? Right? It's mind-boggling that there's no mind, or there's really nothing happening. That everything that's happening is just a singularity. It's just emptiness. There's no opposite to it. It's just, it's in everything. It cannot be separated from anything because everything that's appearing is emptiness. Everything.
It's crazy.
It
is crazy.
It is. It's completely it's it can't be it can't be explained, right? Because everything, even the explanation or even the contradictions are also empty. So these words that are appearing are actually just emptiness or deep sleep. You know what I'm saying? We don't even have a word for it, what we're talking about. I try to use words that doesn't have any personalities, right? Because the tendency is for the character to be awareness or consciousness or whatever. So I use words like nothing or emptiness or silence or anything like that because it doesn't have anyone in it. And even the idea that there's anyone or someone, it's also empty. As I said, you know, in that, I really like that my someone sent me that quote from a neuroscientist, right, saying that there's just this space and all the particles, solidity, whatever, is just an appearance. There's no subject and object. Everything that's being presented doesn't have an opposite. It's just whole. So in this wholeness, that's just called wholeness, emptiness, whatever, nothingness. Everything that arises is not separate from it, and it can't be figured out, right? Because the one is trying to figure out is also empty.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It's so crazy. And then, like, of course, when you talk to people, you converse with people that have nothing, that it doesn't matter, like none of that even matters anymore. You just are playing the role in the part in emptiness.
That's right. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's like this dreaming that's happening, you know, infinitely in this ocean of deep sleep. And then this dream that pops up, you know what I'm saying, once in a while, that there's separation, then there is this conversation happening. But when it's seen that it's all nothing, even this dream that's coming is all nothing as well. So all of this is happening, this talking is automatically happening. There's no thought behind it. There's no one doing it here. There's no one there, and there's no one here, because this is all emptiness. The ideas of separation of you and I are just ideas. They're just particles. They're just an appearance. But this appearance seems to be completely real because here you and I looking at each other, but there's no each other. Each other is just an idea. You and I is just another idea. It's just a dream, a particle, a noise, a distortion in a completeness, in the wholeness. And it's quite, and it can't be thought of because what's being described doesn't have any thoughts. It's void of any ideas. It's void of concepts. It's void of any definitions. And you cannot think it without definitions or thoughts, because even thinking that there's no thought is a thought. So that's the conundrum, right? That there is this, how can this be? It can't, because the one that's trying to figure out is the appearance, which is also nothing. So whatever it can think of is really nothing. It's really empty.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I just want to add one more thing. So
Sure.
I too, for about 10 years, have been in every spiritual community. Okay, like everything. And what I slowly disconnect from them, and for the only reason is because when I listen, I realize, and I know I'm using I a lot, but I'm just
That's all right. You can talk the way that you want. That's all right.
That I realize that all that conversation is speaking to the me, the self, like, it's amazing. And even though it's like, it tries to be similar to this, like it's just your thoughts, blah, 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 but it's always you being aware of your thoughts. But how can you be aware of your thoughts when you are the thought?
That's right. That's right. And it's quite, when the encounter of this communication, I was really teaching that. Observe your thoughts, abide in awareness. You are consciousness, I am that, and all that kind of ideas. And then when it encountered this, it was actually very confronting. I'm like, well, I like that teaching better because it's so much more romantic, that there is an afterlife or reincarnation, or that you are awareness, that you are God. So it's this fantastical ideas about something that is ordinary, the naturalness, which is that there's just disappearance and disappearance in emptiness, and it's really nothing. So there's no hierarchy, there's no better, there's no worse, there's no one at all, there's no attainment, there's no suffering, because all of that is almost kind of like re-triggering suffering. I can't seem to abide in awareness. When am I going to abide in awareness? I can't control my thoughts. I am not that. I am not consciousness. I wish I was consciousness. So it goes in this cyclical motion of suffering and wanting to be what it's not. It's like an illusion, trying to get out of the illusion, but it keeps on operating in off illusion. The illusion will only function illusion. So any practices, any action is illusory. Any doing, any attainment are all illusory. Although it's blissful sometimes, I have to admit it, saying, going to a retreat, with that you think you're holy, I'm saying, you're talking to a really holy kind of like teacher. I mean, you're like, oh, it's really great here. You're eating like really great vegan food. You listen to vegan music and you're dressed in white. It's a nice play. It's a nice play. Likewise, I've actually done and also instructed in one.
Yes. And then like I look back and I'm like, gosh, I'm just so really not interested in any of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like you're a child pretending, and then when there's like, there's nothing wrong, you know what I'm saying? But it's almost like, I'm done with the costume party. I'm done with playing holy. I'm done with trying, you know what I'm saying? It's just done, right? It's because it's just this very it's almost like a prolonged suffering, right? Because it's like that Sisyphus, you know what I'm saying? It's the Sisyphus that keeps on climbing, and then keeps on falling down and climbs again, right? It's just this never-ending cycle. And same thing can be said about this communication. If there is this really big kind of like attachment to separation or to belief systems, it's like, and there's no one choosing to do that. When I was listening to this, it was like that too, but it kept on hitting. That's why I have this wall. It kept on hitting the brick wall over and over. Well, but at least it knows that there's nothing to get. It's honest. Compared to like there's a rainbow behind the brick wall, or there's it's just everything that is being, it's brutal. It doesn't give you promises or anything like that, because a promise is just another illusion. There's no carrot being dangled, because that's just another illusion. Just the clarity that nothing is happening.
Yeah,
There's
it's
no
amazing.
hope. Yeah. So all of that false, fantasy, false ideas of what can be attained is ripped out. And when I was encountering this, I was really confronted by it. I really hated it so much, because it meant that the 10 years that I was teaching, and maybe the other 10 years, 15 years that I was seeking, really meant nothing. All that journeying that I was doing, all the thousands of money that I spent, or the thinking that I had a really good karma, saying, was zero. So it was like zero. Everything is zero. And you're like, what? But I've been really kind, even when no one was looking.
Yeah, it's totally amazing. Know that it was so, all of that doing was covering up the simplicity of the whole entire thing.
It's very simple, yeah. And it keeps on being expressed as very simple, but it cannot be thought of. It cannot be understood. So what's being expressed here is the thoughtless, the wordless. When there is no thoughts, when there's an absence of ideas and what should be, then there's just this naturalness, this peacefulness. And that scene, I love I love walking and DJing and that kind of stuff. I never really noticed before that there was no one walking, there's no one DJing, there's no one playing the piano. It's just happening by itself. So there's this dream that I am doing it. There's this dream that I am not really good at what I'm doing. There's this dream that I should practice more. There's this dream that, after this walk I should journal, my gratitude journal about something. And all of that is just distortion in what is already complete, what is already on infinite offer. This peacefulness that is always this emptiness, as you said, that cannot separate from whatever chaos or anarchy that's happening.
Yeah,
Simple.
it's so amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. Yesterday's class just hit me like a ton of bricks, like your mom. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Keep on coming back. Keep on coming back.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you like, there's no choice anyway. But
I do.
Robert. Hey, Robert.
Hi, Emerson.
Hi.
So in this ocean of emptiness, this infinite silence, we as the me can never actually experience that emptiness. But what we can experience is our own imagination of what that would be like.
Yeah, so it conjures up ideas about what emptiness is, right? Kind of like what I talked in my first one. And the second one, I think I touched upon it, that the moment that it is made into an understanding or an experience, then it blurs it, right? Because the particle or the appearance is thinking that it's separate. The moment that I have this experience, that I understand this, the I separates from what is already whole. But the separation is illusory. It's never separate. So the I even is also emptiness, because it appears, you know what I'm saying, in this spaciousness, in this boundlessness. So even that appearance is not separate, but it's an apparition. It's a distortion. It's a noise in this infinite silence, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when there are so many, and time is an illusion. So the illusion that there is segregation, kind of like, I'm taking a shower, but sometimes, you know what I'm saying, when there is just happening, kind of like, you're just walking or something, there's this peacefulness. You notice it when you're dancing or you're whatever it's happening, because there's no one there. It's just emptiness. Emptiness dancing. Emptiness singing. Nothing happening. Nothing walking. Although nothing is not separate. Again, trying to understand what nothing is separates it. Nothing is everything. That was my second title, actually. Nothing is everything. So everything is nothing. Yeah. So there's no separation whatsoever. There's nothing wrong or right about, meditation or contemplation or inquiry. But what seems to happen is the for example, when I used to meditate, I used to try to get into peace. But it's
I'm
already
very
peace.
familiar.
Yeah, it's already peace. It's already peace. It's already forever peace. And whatever appears, anger, since it's not separate from peace, is also peace. There's a tendency for this separateness or the illusion of separation to think in either kind of like either what is separate or what is sorry, I just had to look at the time there, although there's no time. There is an appearance of subject object or me doing something, but that's just all an apparition. It's just an appearance. It's really nothing. But trying to understand nothing makes it into something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I open with deep sleep, because although it's just a suggestion, that's the closest kind of like, suggestion that it's really nothing. When there's deep sleep, there are no problems, there's no you, there's no others. There are no separation. There's no subject object. There's nothing at all. However, when there's a character that apparently wakes up, or the apparition or the appearance of a character, it tries to, because what am I going to do today? What am I going to do? It's in a sea of deep sleep. All of this wanting, desiring, suffering is really nothing. It's really deep sleep. So all of these dreams that's appearing, the dream of separation, the dream of reality, the dream of time, the dream of you and I, the dream of suffering, is really deep sleep. Because all of these dreams to appear, it's kind of like not really an underlying, it's simultaneously appearing as deep sleep. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Cyclical. Nick. Thank you. Vegan music. Yeah. There's nothing wrong or right about vegan music, by the way. If you listen to vegan music, make sure it's raw. Carolyn goes, so basically there isn't even any life. Yeah. Anything that can be thought of is an apparition. Anything that is an idea is a noise, and seemingly what is already clear as nothing appearing as everything, or nothing is everything. Hello, Non-duality police. How are you? Hi.
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 I'm pretty chill. Yeah, how are you?
Good.
Yeah. It's so bizarre how unthinkable this is, and how simple it is at the same time. And
Yeah. In the
yeah,
absence of thoughts, what's longed for is it. It's in the absence of thoughts that what seemingly is longed for is infinitely happening.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's
yeah,
unthinkable. It doesn't appear in thoughts. Thoughts are an obstacle to what is happening, and thoughts doesn't even exist. See, that's the mind-blowing part of it, that there's no mind and there's no thoughts. They're just really particles appearing in space or nothing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's just really clear right now. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anita, thank you so much. And hi, Anita.
Hi, Emerson.
Hi.
Yes. So yesterday I felt this vulnerability.
Yeah.
And there was really a beautiness in it.
Yeah.
And but I still have some difficulty with the chaos.
With the what? Sorry?
The chaos? Chaotic?
The house?
Yes.
Let's call it openness. Openness. Boundlessness. So when there's boundlessness and openness, everything is allowed. Nothing is rejected. When there is this spaciousness, everything that appears. It's not rejected. Sometimes, getting caught up in these ideas of what is, right? Again, this does not appear in thoughts. This is actually the absence of thoughts. What's being expressed here. There's nothing wrong with thoughts whatsoever. There's nothing wrong with whatever seems to happen. It's just all of this appearance in wholeness, in nothingness, are just appearances. So if they're just appearances in this openness, vulnerability, everything is allowed. Nothing wrong or right about that. It's just what's happening. It's beautiful.
I'm going to mail you.
What's that? Sorry. Are you still there, Anita?
Yeah, it's I didn't expect it. It's
whatever happens.
Yeah.
And it's just a happening and happening at the same time. Whatever seems to be an appearance is also a disappearance. But there's no one choosing to accept or not. There's no one doing any of this. There's no one have any control whatsoever. It's just flowing by itself. And it's not even flowing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Carolyn goes, so I think it's high time to end this life. It never started. It can't be ended. This is so sad. There's no one choosing to end or not to end it. I know this communication is quite brutal and sad and everything, but it's also liberating that there's no one doing anything, that life is just happening, so it can't be ended because it never started. It's just what's happening. Kane goes, nothing wrong with thoughts. No, because thoughts are not even they're not even there. So I could be wrong or right when it's just an apparition. David.
Finger trouble. Hello again. So yesterday. Yesterday, with the first time you said there are no thoughts, my ears pricked up, and I thought, oh, this is new. I've not really heard this said much. And it's been said so often, I just have to ask the question. It's an obvious question to ask, and I'm sure you're going to give me a really good response.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
But Emerson's saying there's no thoughts, but Emerson does think, oh, I'll put the kettle on because I'm going to make a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So just quickly explain to me how there are no thoughts again.
Yeah, the apparent theme of this 12 day is the unknowable nothing, right? So there's nothing in everything. So as I said earlier, in deep sleep, there's this appearances, this dream, like thoughts that are not really happening. In this spaciousness, kind of like what Schrödinger explained, there's particles that are not really, it's just an apparition. So this is all formless. So this is all thoughtless. There's an appearance of thought. There's an appearance of whatever. And the funny thing when I was kind of like writing this 12 day, not 12 days, sorry, 4 day 12 sessions event.
Don't you get everyone excited? 12 days.
Let's make it a whole year. There's just this how can I expand on nothing? You know what I'm saying? There's just this nothing. So it's an exhaustion, because everything is talked about, as everything's being expressed, that there's really nothing. So in this expression of nothing, there's deep sleep. There's synonymous, you know what I'm saying? Thoughtlessness is nothing. Thoughts are nothing. Mind is nothing. So it seems like there's this freshness here, because there's a apparently creative character here that talks about nothing, and it's just an expression of nothing in a fresh way. Yeah, but it's not really fresh because all of this seems to have been talked about. But since there's no history, it's just an appearance. So all of this talk about there's an appearance of someone kind of like having an idea, but that's all appearances. So all appearances are nothing, including thoughts, ideas, time, anything and everything.
Yeah. It's basically sometimes when we discuss this message, we indulge the appearance, and other times we're absolute. And that's what you're saying, there are no thoughts.
Yeah.
But sometimes we might say, I'm not quoting you here, but you hear people say, well, the trouble with the me is it wants this and it does this, and that's when we're into a more compromising discussion, because we're letting a little of something in, which ultimately we're saying isn't. We're just indulging it. Yeah. Okay.
So thanks very much. Oh, of course. Thank you, David.
Go on if you want.
No, keep on coming back with those brilliant questions.
Okay.
They're quite great.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Time is it? Sorry. Oh, funny how time flies when there's no time. So there's an hour break. There's a breakout room. And thank you so much, everyone. This has been epic. We have 3 more sessions today of exhaustion. Exhaustion of nothing. Thank you so much. See you in an hour.
Thank you, Alison.